So today we're going to be looking at the Two of Cups, and it's a really beautiful card, both in its imagery and in the meaning. And I really want to get into this card because I think that the message is just a great message overall. I don't have anything bad at all to say about this card. I think that it's a wonderful, wonderful card to get in a reading. And so I want to get into it. I want to look at the symbols on the RWS card first. And you have two people and they're exchanging these cups. And I think that they're also sharing what's in the cups. I think that they are pouring the water back and forth. And the water represents emotions, it represents love, it represents adoration, respect, forming a union or a connection. And it's a beautiful connection. And you also have the caduceus there in the middle. And that's a symbol of the deity Hermes, which is about communication. He's a messenger god. And it's about knowledge. And so it's also about joining the mind as well and sharing thoughts and sharing perspectives. And that's an important part of it also. And so you have the water, you have the fire part of this with the Leo up there at the top, the lion. So there's passion also. So it just has a good mixture of all the elements. You have air there, you have air with the caduceus and communication. When you think about this card, there's so many different aspects to it and so many different things that can come from it. I like looking at the Thoth deck. On the Thoth deck, you can see that it's Venus, the energy of Venus and Cancer. Those two symbols are up there in the sky. And that energy is a wonderful energy. The energy of Venus is about love. Venus is the goddess of love. And then the energy of Cancer is an empathic type of energy, a caring, nurturing energy. And they go hand in hand. So it's that nurturing energy is absolutely beautiful. I love this image in this book that I have, The Secret Language of Astrology. And it's an image, I'll put a closer up picture of it up, but it's an image of a crab. And what I really think is cool about it is you have the infant Horus inside of the moon there. So the moon representing the energy of Venus and Venus giving birth and nurturing and loving the unborn Horus deity there. And the Cancer being represented as the nurturing aspect of it. And so before I move on here, I want to talk about the overall energy of this card. Now, the bottom of the card says love on the Thoth system. And yes, true, it is about love, but it's also about not just love between two people, but also love of the self, love of the earth and everything on it. So it's love in general, love of your inner self and everything. And I like how the Thoth system emphasizes that there are the two in the one. And what that means is that you may seem like you're an individual, but within you there is another part that you can connect with, a secret self that is a beautiful connection that you can have there. And so when it comes to the Two of Cups, there's that connection, that beautiful connection, that same thing about loving yourself as well. And that will last throughout your lifetime, regardless of who you meet in this life. Cultivate that self-love first. And it starts with the individual. The connection can be made with others, and then it spreads from there. And so I just wanted to put that energy out there because I think that that's the key to this card, and really understanding this card is that there is a higher connection also. I want to take a look at the Two of Cups on the Tabula Mundi. Now, this is probably one of my favorite interpretations of this card, or favorite images of this card. And the reason why is because I just love these two creatures that are here. You know, it reminds me of Corey and I when I look at her, you know, I see parts of me. And if you look at the creatures closely, you can see that they look different, but they both have parts of each other. So they've not just joined as far as emotion or as far as, you know, intellect, but as well as the way they see each other. They see parts of each other in themselves. And I see parts of myself in her. And these two creatures, they actually form the caduceus themselves. And it's about that give and take, that balance between each other. It's almost like a yin and yang balance too. Also showing that there's this exchange of the water here, of emotions. It's not just the exchange of the cups, not giving your emotions over to someone else and then them giving them to you. It's a blending together. And then that goes down into that deeper pool. I love that the moon is up here and you have the reflection of the moon down there at the bottom. And surrounded by the moon, you have wheat. And wheat in the Thoth system is male energy. It's male reproductive energy. And so you have that connection between that as well, showing that this is a passionate card. And then in the back, you have that red background, which also has the fire energy. I love this card. And this is one of my favorite cards. This is from Ethany's Modern Love Tarot, and the artist is Lucy Morningstar. And this deck, this has been one of my go-to decks for relationships because, I mean, it just makes them super clear, you know? And so I just love this card because it reminds me of me and Corey again. I know I keep talking about her, but when I see this one, I think about the incorruptible nature of love and how it lasts and how it can endure and how powerful it is. And just that it, you know, it doesn't tarnish or fade, and, you know, the way that they're looking at each other. So it's just that bond and that integrity that I love there. So I want to continue on here, and I want to talk about the Science Tarot. And the card that they have is Alliance. And it's about the mixture of an organism called a lichen, which is a mixture of fungus and algae. And they work together in union. So they've been around, it's been around for millions of years, and it's had this relationship together. They're two separate things, but they're almost, I mean, they're inseparable because of the union that they formed and the bond that they formed. So the bond is that the fungus provides a structure, a place for the algae, and the algae use photosynthesis to feed the fungus. And they work like that, and they don't need any other interference or anything like that, any other outside influence. Nothing changes their bond, and it's been successful. And so this leads me to the interesting story of the element that we'll be talking about, which is Hafnium. And by the name of it, you would think that it kind of really fits, you know, like half, but it doesn't mean that. It's named after Copenhagen. And so I guess that's the name for Copenhagen. But anyway, it is a very interesting element in that it's actually been around for a long time. It took a long time for scientists to find it because it was very much not involved. It was doing its own thing. It was like an individual, but it had its own components that worked in unison, similar to the lichen story that I talked about. When it was discovered, it had formed such an incorruptible bond that it didn't lose its integrity as far as its uses, and it just maintains this energy of not being corrupted or used in a way that has been negative. Like a lot of elements have many sides to their story. Hafnium also has a counterpart, which is zirconium, and zirconium is above it on the periodic table, and they work together in power plants, and they're used in an opposite way in the rods. So within those rods, they have different roles, but it works together in order to make the power plant work efficiently, to use a cooling rod so it doesn't overheat. But the point is that there is also this balance of energy. There's a push and there's a pull. So the pull is, you know, coming together in the union, and the push is, you know, pushing off of each other with their differences, but challenging each other, but still growing in the process. And so there's growth there. And so that brings me to an interesting point. And I want to talk about the adjustment card, which is the justice card in the RWS system. In the Thoth system, it's called adjustment. And I bring it up because it's kind of a counterpart to this. It's the, you know, this is the pull, okay, the lover's card. And then the push is the adjustment card, because, you know, they're pushing off of each other's energy to adjust the scales. You have to have two equal things there in order to maintain that equilibrium or that stable state. And it's not that they're pulling together, it's that they're pushing off of each other. And that's a very important component of all of this, is to know that there is that growth from that push. But it is something that strengthens the bond instead of breaking it or destroying it. And, you know, one of the beautiful things about Lady Frida Harris when she does her art is that she uses a very a very unique style of projective geometry. And within the cards, you'll see different lines and different arcs and things like that. But also, if you connect some of the cards, you also get a connection of that geometry. And I'm going to put an image up of the Two of Cups and the adjustment card. And I want to point out, if we take a look at this, I want to point out that you can see that flow of that connection. You can see that at the top, there's almost like a flower-like shape. You can see that on both of them, there are these structures, but the water is coming down on the Two of Cups. But on the adjustment card, there are these two structures coming down, connecting the scales, right, on the balance. They're connecting the cup part on the balance, and then you see those things dropping off of the balance there, going down into that bigger pool area, just like with the Two of Cups, to dripping down into, you have these parts dripping down into the pool area, and the symmetry is almost reflective if you put them head to head, right? It's like that with a lot of cards in the Thoth system. Also with, you can do that with the Hangman, the Priestess card, and the Queen of Cups. If you try to connect them head to head, you'll see that symmetry playing out. So Hafnium, when it was discovered, it was difficult to find. And there was this battle between the physics realm and the realm of chemistry. They were kind of not really mixing together well during this time. Physics was more concerned with the connections of atoms connecting together to form molecules and kind of the bigger picture of it all, whereas physics was looking more on the quantum level and trying to look at the particles, the subatomic particles, and what they were doing and how to use that to identify elements. And instead of working together, they were kind of working against each other. It fueled the competition, and it made things grow, and it made us discover new things based on, the competitive nature of it. But at the same time, they were still, whether they knew it or not, working together. They didn't really give credit where credit was due. But overall, and in the end, when we look at physics and chemistry, they work hand in hand. And with many of my classes that I teach, a lot of what I'm teaching is on the subatomic level, dealing with energy, and then it translates over into the bonds and things like that with matter. But it's so woven together that it can't be separated. And working together in those two science fields, or all of the science fields together, contributing different parts or contributing to the same thing in different ways, it is, that union, that mixture, but it's also the adjustment. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with this card. I do want to mention the crystal that I think goes well with it, and you probably guessed it, it's rose quartz. Rose quartz is Venus energy. So it's a crystal of unconditional love. It's a crystal of amazing love and power. So if you're going to work with self-love, with relationships, whether with family members or with your significant other, or friends or whatever, then this is a great crystal to work with. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. So thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Will. This is Atypical Tarot, and I'll see you next time.